The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, and the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, have rejected Wednesday's court judgment declaring Bola Ahmed Tinubu as duly elected Nigerian president. The Labour Party also criticized the judgment on Wednesday, stating that the verdict did not reflect the desire of the people. They have vowed to appeal against the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court at the Supreme Court, the final court on presidential election disputes. The five-member panel of the court, led by Justice Haruna Zamani, in an unanimous ruling on Wednesday, dismissed the petition of the opposition candidates. The court cited the inability of Atiku and Peter Obi to prove the substance of their respective cases. The court equally dismissed the third petition filed by a political party, the Allied People's Movement, for being unmeritorious. Speaking to journalists in Abuja after the pronouncement of the tribunal, the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, Obiora Ifo, said the judgment did not reflect the law and the desire of the people. Obiora Ifo stated that the party would not relent on the people's will prevail because justice was not served in the judgment delivered. According to his words, the Labour Party watched with dismay and trepidation the dismissal of petitions by the five-person panel of the Presidential Election Petition Court, led by Justice Haruna Zamani, and we reject the outcome of the judgment in its entirety because justice was not served and it did not reflect the law and the desire of the people. Nigerians were witnesses to the electoral robbery that took place on February 25, 2023, which was globally condemned, but the tribunal, in its wisdom, refused to accept the obvious. What is at stake is democracy, and we will not relent until the people's will prevail, he stated. He further stated that the party would present a more detailed position when it gets the certified true copy of the judgment. Meanwhile, Atiku and Peter Obi also announced that they will challenge the judgment of the tribunal at the Supreme Court. Addressing journalists shortly after the verdict, which lasted for over 13 hours, Atiku lead lawyer Chris Uche, a senior advocate of Nigeria SAN, said he had already got his client instruction to appeal the decision to the Supreme Court. According to his words, we have our client's strong instruction to appeal the judgment at the Supreme Court, Mr. Uche stated. In the same vein, Peter Obi's lead counsel, Livy Uzogu, a senior advocate of Nigeria SAN, expressed the Labour Party's presidential candidate displeasure over the court decision. According to his words, our clients are dissatisfied with the judgment just delivered. I have the firm instruction of our clients to challenge the judgment on appeal, the senior lawyer stated. Speaking on the difficulties of electoral litigants to prove their suits, Mr. Uzogu warned that electoral jurisprudence would disappear very soon. According to his words, we have to be very careful in this country, otherwise electoral jurisprudence will disappear. When those who contest elections find it difficult to establish their case, they may resort to other means which might not be quite good, he said. The panel had announced that the certified true copy of the judgment would be made available to all the parties. Earlier in the courtroom, Mr. Uche requested a copy of the judgment from the panel to enable him to immediately begin the filing process and beat strict deadlines for such filing. But responding to the request, Justice Samani, the head of the 5-member panel of the Presidential Election Petition Court, said copies of the judgment would be made available to parties in the suit on Thursday. However, Vice President Kashim Shettima described the court decision as a triumph of democracy. Shettima, who was in the court throughout the verdict hearing, lauded the judiciary for upholding constitutional democracy. Conveying Tinubu's joy over the outcome of the petition, the Vice President noted that fulfilling their electoral promise has just begun. The legal team of Atiku Abubakar, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in the February 25th presidential election, has written the Court of Appeal expressing worries that they are yet to receive the certified true copies of the ruling delivered by the Presidential Election Petition Panel on Wednesday. In a letter signed by the head of the legal team, Chris Uche, a senior advocate of Nigeria, on Friday, the team stated that the tribunal did not fulfill its promise of making available the copies of the judgment by September 7 and is worried, due to time constraint, that the delay will affect their ability to file an action before the Supreme Court to appeal the judgment. According to his words, we had by our letter of 7 September 2023 requested for the copies of the judgment delivered by the court on 6 September 2023, which the court had promised in open court would be given to us on the next day, being 7 September 2023. Our clients are worried that up to today we have not received copies of the judgment, which were read as ready and televised globally on 6 September 2023. As we indicated, given the severely limited time to file our appeal, our request is one of extreme urgency, as any day that goes by depletes our time and affects our constitutional rights of appeal. As the time to appeal is not extendable, we have already lost 2 days out of the only 14 days available for us, the letter reads. Labour Party and its presidential candidates have also made similar appeals to the court, seeking immediate release of the document given the volume of work that must be done within the short period they have to file Supreme Court briefs. 3 days now have appeared to have been lost in the delays. The Presidential Election Petition Court declared on Wednesday that the petition submitted in dispute of the results of the election did not provide enough evidence to support the sought relief, which among other things include a disqualification of the announced winner Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his running mate Kashim Shettima. The party have 14 days from the day of the ruling to appeal the verdict of the tribunal before the Supreme Court. However, the All Progressive Congress APC Professional Forum has appealed to opposition parties not to proceed to the Supreme Court over Wednesday's judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court. Issa Yuguda, the chairman board of trustees of the forum, stated this at a news conference on Friday in Abuja. According to his words, we have taken notice of the separate and almost simultaneous press conference addressed by the presidential candidates of the 2 main opposition parties, Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi. While we consider it is within the rights of the petitioners to proceed to the Supreme Court, we appeal to them to spare the country from further polarization of the citizenry and heating up the polity with another round of wild goose chase spiced with fake news and unverified claims. For us, we believe it is time for them to accept the verdict of Nigerians as affirmed by the tribunal, he stated. Mr. Yuguda said there was need for Nigerians to join hands in supporting the government of Tinubu on his Renew Hope agenda of moving the country to development. He stated that no personal interest or ambition should be more important than the collective interest of Nigerians for democratic deliveries. Mr. Yuguda congratulated Tinubu on all he had done in his first 100 days in office, according to his words. We are all seeing what he has been doing in India on the sidelines of the G20 meeting and are proud of him and his team. As party faithful and a forum of technocrats and professionals in the APC, we congratulate Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima on the affirmation of their February 25th, 2023 electoral victory by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, he stated. He described the tribunal judgment as an attestation of the credibility of the presidential election, saying as far as the forum was concerned, it had put to rest all the false narratives about the electoral process. Mr. Yuguda added that the tribunal judgment also vindicated the forum's stance that the presidential election was the best in the country's modern history, considering how it shocked its political landscape. He further said that the task ahead for Mr. Tinubu was a Herculean one that required a focused and dedicated leadership to meet the yearnings of Nigerians. He further stated that the forum had no doubt that the president had all it took to deliver on the APC campaign promises. This, he said, was especially because his capacity had been proven over time in his private and public careers, adding that he had also demonstrated enough courage to take tough but wise decisions for the good of all. Mr. Yuguda assured that the group would continue its engagement with heads of government. Mr. Yuguda assured that the group will continue its engagement with heads of government agency and key policy makers. He added that the forum will also continue to enlighten Nigerians on government efforts at delivery on APC manifesto and campaign promises. The group, however, begged Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar to accept Tinubu as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and stop any other application before the Supreme Court.